Yo, what's going on, guys? And today I want to talk about the top NBA dynamic duos, as this has been something that has just been trending online. So I want to hear down below before we start today's video, who are your top 5 dynamic duos in the NBA right now? So let's get into today's video and let's just go. So you just heard my phone drop. Who gives a fuck? Okay, either way, I want to talk about, let's just start from, I think we're not going to do this. We could talk about the top. Let's talk about the top. I think the number one, the best dynamic duo, LeBron and AD. Okay, these two guys are probably the number one power forward, the number one smart forward. Arguably, you go argue if they're number one. They're definitely top three, and you know they're two top 10 players on the same team. And that's freaking awesome. We can talk about this all day, how they have a title together. They both have all NBA first teams. And, you know, really the first pair of teammates to do that since Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire. And they also have LeBron, who's basically a perennial MVP candidate, and Anthony Davis was a runner-up for the Defensive Player of the Year last year. So they're both top 5 talent, so we could say they're basically the best duo. Then we could go to the next best duo. You could argue it's Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. They are two players who... Kawhi Leonard carried the Toronto Raptors to a championship, and Kawhi Leonard also played amazing defense for the San Antonio Spurs in a championship. And then you have Paul George, who came back from an insanely bad injury, an egregious injury that was so heinous to watch, and has came back and is one of, you know, a top 15 player, top 25 player. Then you got Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton. I think this is, you could argue that the Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo is better than this, and I think Chris Middleton's great. I think he's an all-star. He's a borderline. I think he is. He's an all-star player, and Giannis is an MVP and Defensive Player of the Year winner. But I feel like this. So the top tier is Kawhi, Paul George, and Anthony Davis and LeBron James. That's tier 1. I think now you get the tier 2, which is Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton, which they're cool. Giannis is definitely a top 10 player, but Chris Middleton's a top 25, top 30. You could argue that he's top 35. So that's where you start to see the difference. Then you got Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, who I both believe they're both top 25 players. Like, I think Bam Adebayo is the 4th or 5th best center. I think the top 3 centers in the league are Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, Rudy Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns. Then you could say it's Bam Adebayo. And you got Jimmy Butler, who's probably the 4th or 5th best small forward in the league. And they're both top 15 players, so I think that's still tier 2. And you continue the next tier 2. You go out, say it's Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. Or is it James Harden and Kevin Durant? So I still think I think we're gonna do Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the Brooklyn Nets, James Harden and Kevin Durant, because I think Kevin Durant and James Harden are still better players right now than Kyrie has ever been in his career. And I think definitely we'll do James Harden. So tier 2 is James Harden and Kevin Durant, with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now we start tier 3, which would be Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and I think you could throw in Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, where they have top 40, top 50 players on their. I think they both have top. They all have top 35 guys, but they don't have top 15 or top 10 guys. And if they do, they have one top 10 guys where not both guys are top 10, or they have 2 guys who are top 25 or top 30, but more on the backer half, you could say. So with Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis probably is top 35 player, while Luka is a top 15. Then you got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, who are both top 35 players, top 25 players, both of them. And you got Nikola Jokic, who's a top 15, and Jamal Murray is probably a top 35 player. I think that's the big difference right there. Then you go into tier 4. Would you say... I think tier 3 is also... Let's put in a tier... You know, I think you could sneak into tier 2, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Tier 2, Joel Embiid. I think you could say 2.5, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, because Ben Simmons has been pretty not great on, you know, offense this year. Like, he hasn't progressed on offense like how we wanted him to. And I would also include in tier 3 Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. And I could really say this is in the 2.5. I would put Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert in between tier 2 and tier 3, or even in closer to tier 2. Then we got over here Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. I think that's definitely tier 3 right there. You know, Chris Paul and Devin Booker, that's definitely a tier 3. Zion and Brandon Ingram, I think is definitely a tier 3. Let me hear what your guys' thoughts are about this down below. But yeah, NBA Dynamic Duos. So that's it for me, guys. Peace out.